I'm not smart enough. Well, am I? I mean, I have degrees, I have postgraduates, I have master's degrees, I have PhD, and I'm not smart enough. Is that really true? Am I smart enough? Does it really matter to you? Are you smart enough? Well, the thing about it is, and what I'm talking about now, is that we can all get smarter. Believe it or not. Okay, within our ability ranges, we can actually develop our brains to, well, get a stronger mindset as such. I'm looking at a book that Wilson and Coyers wrote about developing growth mindsets. And if you can actually delve into this and realize that you too can actually benefit from this particular theory, but not just theory, but proof, then you can actually grow your brain in certain areas and develop your life and mindset to become expert at what you want to do. So think about it. Every day when people go to school, children, you've been to school, I know that. People and children, they try to learn. And children of all ages, if you perhaps think back maybe to when you were a child yourself, when you were 3 or 4 or 5 years of age, you went to class, of course you did. And there in class from 3 to maybe 12 or even up to 18, you learned. And your brain power developed. Now, within children, within people in fact, and adults, imagine there's 86 billion neurons swimming around your brain, eager to learn, eager to bring in this information, this new information that you're taught. Now, for a second, just think about 86 billion. The world itself, all the continents together, all the countries, there's 8 billion as such. 8 billion people. So 86 billion, that's like 11 times or more than 11 times or almost 11 times even the amount of actual neurons in comparison to the amount of people, human beings on the planet. So all you need is one good human being to heal the world or to help the world or to become a president or to become a leader. And it can help a country or continent. Look at the United States, a leader, one good leader. So the impact that can have through journalistic scholar, through the likes of the internet, through news or fake news, or through the whole demonstration of media, it can impact people so hugely. And not just Americans, it can impact people in Europe, it can impact people in Africa, and all the continents of the world. But if you have 86 billion neurons, imagine what one thought can do. Imagine if you grow that thought, if that thought becomes the leading thought. Imagine what it can do for you, for your life, for your mindset, and for me, and for others in the world. Imagine if you have the likes of a healing thought. Imagine that you can actually lead as well in that thought, to be a healing leader, for example. And if you can put action towards that, you can actually do it. As a child, we know that, yeah, children dream. They dream in classrooms. They write down all these different things, or they write essays or inspiring stories, or they actually draw a picture and say, hey, I'm going to be the president when I grow up. But here's the thing, when you're an adult, from this book, from this kind of research, when you're an adult, you can actually develop your brain as well. Those 86 billion neurons can actually grow, because many of these neurons make approximately 10,000 connections to other neurons. Now, I know there's 86 billion and then we're down to 10,000, but think about that for a second. There's 10,000, that's a lot. And if you make a connection, you're starting to really deepen your thought. And just 1 cubic centimeter of our human brains is estimated to have as many connections as there are stars in the Milky Way. Now, there's a lot of stars. And the connections that can come in our thoughts can develop us and to make us, well, whatever we want to be. Now, I'm not saying that you can become a world-class athlete or the best musician ever, best rock star, and have that rock star lifestyle. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is within your ability range, within more so your passion range, within your specific ability, for example, to be an athlete. If you're 4 feet tall and you're pudgy and you're not very athletic, you're not necessarily going to be the sprint champion of the world. However, it doesn't mean to say that your thought process can't make you the fittest that you can be or the fastest 4-footer around the world. It's about harnessing those thoughts and realizing and opening your minds to the fact that once you hit 18 or 19 and you leave school, that, my friend, is not the end of it. The new brain science out there is telling us now that actually we can go deeper, we can go longer, we can actually have much more success. Because one thought, several thoughts, with energy behind them can inspire us to go further because it actually scientifically works. That's why some people as adults can really develop, really kick on, can really go further than maybe they even thought themselves in a particular career, in a particular area of expertise and so on. That's why maybe when they were in school they were just an average learner, right? I did much better than them. How are they achieving and I'm not? And that's always a question, it's always actually a frustration. But it can be done. And this is the work of Carol Dweck. And she describes growth mindset essentially as, just as I've described it really, that you can do it too. She looks at the first chapter of a book where you can grow your brain. She hits the nail on the head saying you can grow your brain and that growth and fixed mindsets in education can occur. So again, just because you've hit 18 and you've reached your high school year, it doesn't mean to say you can't kick on and do something different as an adult. Remember, as an adult, you can look at things differently. Think of the lockdown for a second. Think of when you were in lockdown. You're probably absolutely consumed with boredom. And you're thinking, what can I do here? I can't get out. I can't go to my neighbours. I can't go to my friends. And that's fair enough. So you may have had to rediscover exactly what was there. And once you got through all the Netflix programs and movies and so on, you probably realised, I need to do something else. I need to fulfill my brain, my mind in a different way. So what could you do? What did you do? Perhaps you looked at a jigsaw. And if you looked at a jigsaw, well then it was going to be frustrating at the beginning, especially if you hadn't used or done jigsaws in a while. So here you are with your puzzle and you're trying to put all the pieces together. Now, if you did 100 pieces a day, well, that was pretty good. It's excellent, in fact. That means you're using your patience, and using your patience triggers then this part of the brain which is going to essentially allow you to grow. Because if you did it the second day and you did 100 pieces a day, suddenly you have 200, and before you know it, that 500 piece jigsaw, perhaps by the end of the week, was actually completed. Now, would you have thought you would have done that maybe, certainly 6 months beforehand? No, because you didn't think, obviously, COVID-19 was going to occur, and that's fair enough. But would you have actually done it as in such a determined fashion, had you not been grilled and cooped up, just grilled to stay there in that position, in that house, in that apartment, and knowing that you were sick of Netflix or you were sick of watching different things on TV or on a screen? Instead, you wanted to do something different, to kill that boredom, to motivate yourself. So if you concentrate your efforts, then you can actually grow your brain. Another example would be if poetry, maybe you loved poetry in school, but you just couldn't get a grasp on it. There was some perhaps old age or more mature particular mentions of certain feelings in the poems. So you decided to Skype or Zoom your friends during the lockdown, and you're like, hey, remember that poetry book in school? That was kind of fun. See those memes online? Can we actually come up with something here ourselves? Let's look into the poetry. And suddenly you're doing like a conversation about feelings and stuff on Zoom. And you realize that you can actually think about things from a different angle, for perhaps a more mature mindset. Why? Because you're older, of course. But just because you're older, this is the central point, you can actually grow your brain. You can grow your mindset. So then the question is, where's the relationship between the brain and the mindset? Well, of course, the relationship is that the brain is a physical thing. The mind, well, there's a lot more, shall we say, emotions involved. Now, I'm not going to get too deeply into that, but the reality is you can change the way you look at things. And if we start looking at things, the science is there that you can actually improve. You can improve not just when you're a child, not just when you're a teenager or adolescent. You can improve at any time. So why don't we improve? Why do we have to just realize that, oh, I've done this course, I've done that course, I've done my undergraduate degree, I've done my postgraduate degree, I've done my master's, I've done my PhD, I don't need to do anything. But we are changing and we are growing. If we had all those studies done before COVID-19 and then suddenly COVID-19 comes in and topples all our thinking on science or biology or whatever, then we need to relearn. We know that now. But other aspects of our life, other aspects of our learning can change too. We can continue to be open to learning because you will learn. That's the point. Our brains are capable of learning, even as an adult. And growth and change and adaptation in our lives can happen. Your dreams can still happen if you have the ability, that is. So, thanks for watching. Until next time, well, have a wonderful day. But please subscribe if you haven't already. And if you have, well, thanks very much. So, have a great day.